Hey guys, welcome back to the second round of the webinar. So you may have been a part of the first one. At least I hope you've been a part of the first one. This is Mastering Verbal Skills Part 2 with Jenni Poulos, myself. Jenny's one of our amazing coaches here. Not only is she an amazing coach, but she also is she runs a practice, and it's not just a practice. It's super amazing in Denver. And you're going to see this in just a second. And we broke this up into 3 different parts. So our whole goal is to bring you guys some great stuff, like some great usable stuff that you and your team can use. And I want to start with this. The first webinar we did, if we would have put all of these together, it probably would have been about a 3-hour webinar. Now, you guys have already told us we can only listen to like 45 minutes or so, and then our brains are fried. Totally understand that. So we've broken this up into 3 easy and manageable pieces. So if you happen to miss number 1, go back to www.actdental.com/verbal, and you can just sign up right there, and we'll get you all segments, and we're putting them up there as we finish them. But you're going to absolutely love this. Now, Jenny, a big part of why we created this was you teach me this all the time. Verbal skills matter. So can you explain?
Language matters.
Language matters. See, you guys are already seeing she's way smarter. All right. Explain to everybody what that means before we keep going on this.
I mean, just from a 5,000 foot view, what we say matters. How we say it matters. How we lean in and how we're curious, and how we listen matters. And listening is as big a part of verbal skills as is speaking. So it affects our relationships with our team members. It affects our relationships with our patients, our case closure, the predictability of our days, our lives. So it's super important, and I love that we get to talk about it.
Absolutely. And so you're going to see in the first webinar, we went through kind of the 8 key concepts, and Jenny described a couple of them already. Just, you got to be a great listener, a great communicator, and all of those skills that are involved with that. So make sure you check that out. But one of the key pieces that we're really trying to emphasize in this whole series is that if your team gets really good at verbal skills, you're going to see it's going to open up doors or possibilities. It's also going to create value at the chair, even before the chair. You will be crazy busy with the right kind of stuff, and you're going to get obstacles. If you're on the phone, patients are going to deliver obstacles to you, like, how much is it going to cost right away? Do you accept my insurance? And what I want you to do as a team member, as a dentist, or anybody that works in a dental office is just remember all these obstacles that come your way. They're beautiful. But I want you to grab them and put them to the side. Take every obstacle and softly set it to the side just for now. And then because you want to validate or honor the fact that somebody's asking you a legitimate question, but you're going to slow it down and change it from a transactional conversational to a relational conversation. And so you're going to see, do you take my insurance? That was one of the big questions we covered in the first webinar. But this one, we're going to go a little bit further. One of them is, do you take my insurance? But another one is, if this is not covered by my insurance, then I don't want it. Jenny, do you ever get that question in your office at all?
Oh, yeah, right. I'm only going to do it if it's covered.
Right.
It's right. And we have to move patients past this limiting belief that their insurance exists to provide them with optimal health. Because we believe that if my insurance says that I can't have it paid for, then I don't need it. Mm-hmm. And that could not be farther from the truth.
Yeah.
So we have to work past that limiting belief with our patients.
Totally agree. And sometimes, you nailed it. It is a limiting belief, but sometimes they don't even know what to believe or what to say. And so they're just trained or programmed to ask these questions. So if you get this question, which I know you do several times a day in some cases, I want you to just think differently. It's not so much the words, but start to think a little bit different. And one of the first thoughts that I have for you is, with this boulder or obstacle, just say, Mrs. Jones or Judy, we base our treatment on the true needs of our patients, not the limitations of the benefits. And Jenny, you described that in the last webinar. Don't call it insurance. You're going to change that word out. Change it from insurance to benefits. Can you explain that a little bit, just to refocus
Sure.
on that?
Yeah, I mean, a big thing that this comes from is our understanding of insurance is completely rooted in the way that medical insurance functions.
Yep.
Medical insurance and dental insurance do not function in the same way at all.
Yep.
So we want to differentiate them by changing the language. We don't want to call it insurance because it doesn't function how you understand insurance functions. We want to
Totally.
call it it's not a full loss item. It's a benefit that will assist, but it's not going to cover everything. It was never intended to, nor will it ever.
Bam. So that's the important piece, is understanding the why behind it. And you can think to yourself that, the proposed treatment is beyond the scope of dental benefits. Dental benefits pay for some single tooth procedures. And again, you can go back to the whole, we totally value that you have your benefits and we're going to help you, but it may cover a portion. It may cover a half. It may cover nothing of what you and the doctor discuss. But let's take a look at the next step. Now, another question that you might get, and again, you get this all the time. Hey, can you find out what my insurance company will pay for before I decide to have this procedure? This happens in your practice too, Jenni, right?
Oh yeah, and again, right? People are advocating to use their benefits because they have them. I
Mhm.
don't want you to look at their benefits as the enemy. Just how do we communicate the way that we do it in our office, the way that we utilize benefits in order to move patients through to acceptance? So, yes, we do get this question. And yes, we will be your advocate to help you understand and maximize the benefits. But I want everyone to write this down. It's a great phrase, and it will help you with this question. What I want you to understand, Mrs. Jones, is that your benefits exist to help you maintain, but not to obtain oral health.
Whoa.
That's a great way to think about them.
Say that
So I
again.
like
Wait, say that again.
say
That's
that
real.
again, right? Your benefits exist to help you maintain, but not obtain your maximum oral health. They're preventative in nature. So
Love that.
as we move forward, I want to help you understand that concept, and that helps someone understand that, like, hey, if I am having, I work in a periodontal office, so we are going up above and beyond. I'm not doing routine maintenance. So what we do oftentimes is minimally covered.
Yeah.
So I'm going to help get you there, but your benefits are only going to take you part of the way.
See, I love that. And you also used a couple things. You said advocates, advocacy. That's a great way for you and your team to think differently about this whole. It's not, there's not adversity here. It's advocacy. So you want to make sure, hey, listen, we're going to be shoulder to shoulder. I'm going to help you every single step of the way. And just like Jenni said, like reframing your brain is the key piece here. And think to yourself while you're communicating, you might not want to just say this, but I want you to think like this. I'm focused on you, on the relationship. I understand that you have benefits, but I'm more focused about you, what you want and what you need, and I'll help you with the rest of it. And a couple other pieces, because we want to give you some actual tools to use or some actual verbiage to use, is you can say this, Mrs. Jones, this is going to be about a $3,000 procedure. And then you pause, and the pause is a pregnant pause, which you're going to put something into it, which is just space. And if your benefits pay $600 or $700, would that stop you from doing it? Now, it's kind of a qualifying question because you want to get a sense of, is the patient in? Or, are they half in, they part in? Do they understand they're going to be reaching into their pocket? And then supplement it with, we're going to do everything possible to maximize your benefits for this treatment. But you're kind of qualifying or seeing if they want to put any skin in the game at all. Just
Yeah.
something to consider. And then you may want to say, we talk about E minus R equals C, expectations minus reality equals conflict. There are going to be times where it's good to be vague and specific at the time and at the appropriate time. And let me explain. There are times where you can't be specific. You want to be general because you don't know how much they're going to pay. You might be able to estimate, but that might be wrong. And so you want to be able to speak honestly about what they might or might not pay. And then what happens after that? Here's another way to say it. This is an $8,000 procedure or approximately $8,000 procedure. We estimate that your benefits will pay approximately $700. If we were to ask them how much they would pay, they may tell us the correct amount, but they may also tell us an incorrect amount. Mrs. Jones, I'm going to fight for you every step of the way. But let me ask you a question. If the insurance company pays a little less than we anticipated, will that small difference stop you from moving forward with treatment? Now, Barrett Straub, who's a great team member here at Act Dental, he likes this question a lot just because once you've gone beyond the basics of the relationship and now we're getting into the details, this kind of lets you know a little bit more about how far we want to invest into this relationship. And Jenni, any
And
thoughts on this?
yeah, I mean, just this kind of goes back to those core concepts. But I want everyone to remember that people pay for the things that they value.
Right.
We will invest in what we value. I like to joke about this, but I say this with my teams, like, oh, your coach bag goes so great with your class 4 perio disease, right? I have invested thousands of dollars in a purse. If I value my health, I probably will invest an equal amount in that.
Right.
So it's important that we're able to convey value and help patients see value and lead them to the value that is there. And if you can believe it and confidently communicate it, the patients will have an easier time seeing it. One other thing I want to mention about this statement about the insurance may provide the correct amount, they may provide the incorrect amount. People may not know this, but they actually can come back and say up to a year later, hey, we overpaid and we need some money back.
Right.
So you may pre-authorize, get payment, and be told in 8 months, I need money back. So there is never a guarantee of payment from the dental insurance companies. Never tell your patients that there is a guaranteed payment. It is always only an estimate.
Yeah.
Even after the check is cleared the bank, it is still not a guarantee.
That is a great point because they remember that. They think that. And again, you don't want to promise something you can't deliver, but very, very well said on that. Now, another thing, as you can get a sense of this with these questions, there's a huge difference between commitment and compliance. And commitment is when people are all in. Compliance is when they're just yesing you to death. You see this in just basic hygiene appointments, basic restorative appointments. We're not just going to put you in the schedule and hope that you show up. We're going to gain some idea or some level of how well you're committed to this process. Because while there's a financial concern to it, there's a time concern. There's a health concern. We need you to do the rest of the work. And just some of these questions give you a sense of where we're at in this whole process with patients. So again, these are not easy things to figure out. But what we want you to do is just take a couple of these, whether it just be one or two of them, and just experiment. You don't have to do everything that we're suggesting, but just try to think through some of these processes or list them out, and you're going to see they actually work, and they work really well. Here's another one. But I have to go to an in-network dentist for my dentistry. Why aren't you in-network? Do you get that one at all, Jenni?
Oh yeah, they get the scare letter from, especially if you're changing your PPO, your PPO in-network status. They get the scare letter, and this is a result of I just don't know what to ask, or
Right.
I don't know what I don't know, right? So unless your patient, and there are instances in which they are part of an exclusive provider organization where they must see an in-network provider to get any level of benefit, and those types of plans do exist. For the most part, they are able to choose and see an unrestricted provider and still get some coverage. So this is a fallacy that we need to be able to move patients through.
Yeah.
And we're not in network because you, my dear patient, are more important than our relationship with a dental benefits company.
Whoa, that's really good. See why she's so good at what she does. Now, I love dissecting the things that you just said, because you said unrestricted provider, which is very important. We mentioned that in the first one. And that's a good thing to point out to patients, is that, and then you also use the word choice. There are some plans in which patients cannot choose anything. They're just robots. Now, that isn't the case for most of the insurances or PPOs that you participate with. There is some latitude for choice, but in some cases, this is where you need some clarification or some help up front. And this might be a great opportunity for you to just list those out, in which patients have a little bit of choice, and letting them know that they do have a choice. Yes, I know you think that you do have to go to an in-network provider for your dentistry, but you can actually use your benefits here. We are an unrestricted provider. Now, it works a little differently. But the answer, remember what Jenni said in the first one, is you want them to hear yes for the most part, unless you're clear that this is absolutely a no. Now, as long as it's not a DMO, you can say things like this. We have found that it's not necessarily the case. You can still come to our office and receive this excellent level of care. Many patients, and this is the herd mentality, you can let them know, we've got a lot of patients just like you. They're in the same situation. They work at the same plant. And they found that the difference of out-of-pocket expense to be minimal. By not being in PPO contracts, we are not subject to what your benefits company or your insurance company decides is allowed. We can treat you without constraints that are often put on by PPO contract providers in how they diagnose or treat their patients. And often those constraints are solely based on the decisions of the insurance company and not what's best for you, the patient. Now, that's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
I don't suggest you say all that, but sometimes you might want to just take a photo of this slide or a screenshot of this slide. And it's important that your team members understand what the slide says. Again, back to one of the original things that we said, I'm not the hugest fan of scripts. And everybody says, well, if you teach me how to fish, or if you give me fish, I eat for a day. If you teach me how to fish, I eat for a lifetime. Totally agree. But sometimes team members just need to know how to use the pole and use the bait and the tackle in order to get started. And that's what I'm referring to here, is what's the why behind what you say. And this is a great place to start. In short, our treatment recommendations are always based on the health of our patients instead of the limitations of some benefits programs. I would definitely say that. And in the end, I would also let them know this. You're the patient. While we're the expert on your dental conditions, you're the expert on you, and you're going to make all the decisions here. And people like that. They don't like to be painted in a corner. Any thoughts on that one, Jenni?
Yeah, that touches on one of my favorite concepts. And you write this down: feel, felt, found.
Right.
I love the feel, felt, found concept, and that slide touches on that. So really, patients, people don't want to feel that they're alone, or that they've gone first, or that there's some unknown. It's the herd mentality, like you said. So if you can say, I understand how you feel, others have felt this way too, and they've found that it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that kind of encompasses what that last slide said. Others have, I get it. You feel nervous. I get it. There's a change. Others have also felt that way, but they've found they get to make their own decisions, and it ends up being a great relationship, and they get great care, and it works out.
Yeah, and I hope you understand what's happening here. So a lot of times, 99% of all team members that work the front that get these questions, it's an obstacle, and then you describe why you don't do things, and you're basically telling the patient, no. Well, again, what we're doing is putting the boulder aside and let feel, felt, found. That is a great way to take a patient, honor what they're saying, and recognize, let them know you're not the only one, and let them take them through this journey. And we're going to go past the boulder. And if you can think like that as a team member, you're going to be in great shape. Or as a dentist, say, listen, totally understand, but that's what we do. We get shoulder to shoulder with our patients and we walk them through this journey. And I'm going to be clear about what we can and what we can't do. Again, another principle, we're going to ask you to write this down a lot, is you don't want to tell patients or spend a lot of time on what you don't do. You want to spend all of your energy on what you do. And using the feel, felt, found principle is really, really critical. Another way that you want to handle this objection or this challenge or this boulder is you can say something like this: we highly value the doctor-patient relationship, and we feel you should choose the best doctor for your needs. I love letting people know, hey, listen, you don't have to come to me. You can't, like, I don't want you to feel in corner that you have to come to me and you got to do this. I want you to know I'm going to take really good care of you. But here's the thing I would tell you: you have to find the right doctor for you. And your benefits are important, but should not decide where which doctor you go to, because sometimes those benefit plans change. You want to pick the right dentist for you in all of those respects. And I've even had great fee-for-service dentists that we've coached in our coaching program say, listen, I'm going to give you the best dentistry I know how to do. And I'm okay if you don't come here. But I want you to know you're safe here. I'll always tell you the truth here. We're always going to be honest with you, and we're always going to give you the best. And whether or not people come to see you in the short term, if you're building this for the long tail of it, which means you're in it for the long haul, you're going to have an incredible career in dentistry, because, again, people are going to come back to you because they trust you and they remembered you, and you can't run from your reputation in dentistry. So think about that. Now,
You've said this recently, and we've written some articles on this too, right? You don't have to be everyone's dentist.
No.
And don't try to be.
Yeah, that's the fastest way to be miserable in anything, is just try to be everybody's dentist or everybody's painter or everyone's friend. You can't. I've tried it. Doesn't work. It's not fun. So pick who the right people are for you and your business. Now, another variance of the question, besides, are you in my network? Why don't you accept my insurance plan? So again, listen to the nuances of these words, because sometimes these questions aren't always the same. When you have a patient says, hey, why don't you accept my insurance plan? You could say this: we don't, because it's terrible or it's lousy. No, don't say that. The second thing you can say is, hey, we like to eat. No, don't say that either. That's not a good thing to say. But you could say, we evaluate many plans and we've determined that we cannot work directly with this particular plan. Now, we love seeing you. We want to maintain our high standards. But yes, see how I'm intentionally using the word yes? But yes, because you do have choice here and you do have the ability to choose which provider you go. You can use your insurance here or your benefits here. Absolutely. And we can work with you. Now, we're going to ask you pay. Well, I have the word play, but it should say pay. We're going to ask you to pay in full at the time of service. And we would be very happy to file your insurance claim for you, but your reimbursement will go directly to you. Another way that you could say this is, hey, we're not at the pay, how we determine how you're going to pay yet, but again, I'm going to focus on you. We're going to do the best for you, and then we'll walk you through this step by step. We're going to be your advocate in this whole process. I'm going to fight for you, Mrs. Jones, and get you everything that you deserve or that we can in this whole process. Any thoughts on this when you have patients say, why don't you accept my insurance plan?
Absolutely. I mean, I think really we're always going to lean into relationships and value. Because patient, you are more important to us than a relationship with a benefits company. One of the most important things that you can do here as a doctor, as a team, to prepare yourself to answer this question is to think about your core values.
Right.
And what are your core values tell you about how you want to treat patients? Because I guarantee you that's going to give you the most authentic answer that you can provide.
Yeah. I mean, Jenni, you're hitting on a lot of big elements here. Again, if you haven't done the core values work, that's probably no, it's not probably. It is where you need to start. Because all challenges, all problems, all changes, everything you do for the rest of your career is always, all roads lead home to your core values. You can always speak about the why through the lens of your core values. And it's true, so why don't you accept my insurance plan? Mrs. Jones, I love all of our patients, but we also know that we have to do the right thing for all of our patients. And sometimes these plans don't allow us to be able to do that and make the best decisions for your patients. Now, a couple other obstacles that you're going to get, are how much your crowns? You ever get those questions that if you're a front desk team member or an admin team member, this, like people call you and they go, hey, I've been calling around. How much your crowns? This is their 13th phone call in the last hour. Now you can say, hey, they're $550. How many would you like? But I don't think that's going to work. Or if you answer the question, go, yeah, we charge $975 or $11. You're inviting a race to the bottom because they're always going to find somebody cheaper and faster to do that. What you want to do is just slow down the relationship process a little bit and just ask a question. Remember, this is what we said in the first webinar. Don't answer the question. Try to do that. Don't instead ask a question and slow down the conversation to start a potential relationship. So I want you to think in this component. What would be a good question to ask when somebody goes, hey, how much are your crowns? So I'm going to give you the answer because I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking at you. Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for calling. I love that question. You're talking to the right person. Would it be okay if I asked you a question first? Everybody's going to say, yes, of course. Anyone who says, no, I just need to know the number, you can say, where you stand with that, but you could say, please share with me your name. I always like to know the person I'm talking with. And then when they say Sue, thank you so much for calling. And thanks a lot for calling. Another question that you might want to ask after you've received their name graciously is, have you been told by a dentist that you actually need a crown? So when they say, how much are your crowns? You can say, you know what, Sue, after you get their name, can I ask you a question? Have you been told by a dentist that you actually need a crown? Now, I love this one because if you've ever asked this question in dental practice, you get the most amazing answers. Here's one of them. Nope, I've not been to a dentist, but my sister told me at a party that I need a crown. Or I saw a YouTube video and this guy said that you should probably get a crown. And you can actually say something like this. There are many cases in which our patients don't actually, I don't know if I have this on the slide. Yeah, there are many kinds of crowns. What kind of crown do you need? You're going to stump a patient every single time because they're not going to say a PFM crown because they don't know that it's a PFM crown. I want to be careful that I don't mislead you. Here's something else you could say by giving you the wrong estimate over the phone. I want you to also know that you will always be able to find a cheaper dentist anywhere, but you won't find a better dentist than ours. She is not only an amazing dentist, but she's an even better human being. Could you imagine if you had somebody at your front desk saying that consistently? I guarantee you your chairs would be full with the right kind of stuff. And so again, there's just some things to think about. Other answers, because I have hours and hours and hours of this stuff. And actually, Jenni, we're going to turn this into a 9-hour webinar. And you guys, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, okay, wait, back up, slow down, or you have other unique questions, send them to us. I love this stuff. I can talk for all hours a day on this. Jenni, any other thoughts you have on this whole how much your crowns thing?
Yep. So, starting with the right, on the phone, like I want to ask your name. I want to move that boulder aside, establish some relationship. We get this question all the time. How much are dental implants? How much is this surgery going to cost? And the truth is there is a lot of variance to the treatment that we provide. So I'm going to be very upfront and honest about that.
Yeah.
What's important to us is that we provide you with an individualized, personalized treatment plan that meets your needs exactly. And that means that I can't give you an accurate estimate because we provide a plan that's specific to each patient that we get the time to meet with, which is true.
Spoken like a true pro. Sounds like you've handled these questions quite a bit when you're calling. Yeah. And Jenni just shared with us this morning in our morning huddle, you guys just had your largest month of all time. Now, I'm not going to tell you the number. That's not really important. But the important piece is that if you get good at these verbal skills, you get good at systems, you get a good coach in your practice, that's when the hard becomes easy. That's when you look up and you go, I can't even believe we produce this much. Nobody produces that much by accident. That just doesn't happen. It happens because we've been working hard at this and we know how to deal with these objections and we know how to be able to take these boulders and shine them and turn them into gold. And, once you get to a window where you can actually start talking about money, or if you ever feel like you just want to get super honest with patients and you can feel that vibe happening either on the phone or in person, you can tell people this. You can say this in an app. You can say this on the phone. You say, Sue, one thing I want you to understand, just I care a lot about our patients. And one thing that we've learned is there's no less expensive way to do anything than to do it the right way the first time. And I'm sure you can identify with that. You're going to see that our doctor is all about doing the right thing. You're going to love her. And the important piece here is that I'm going to go back to these points when I'm talking to a patient. And sometimes they've thrown 3 boulders at me, sometimes 4 boulders. I love the boulders. I'm going to take each one of them and just put it to the side. Within reason. If somebody's just trying to throw you boulders and they're not really listening or open to what you're going to have to suggest, that's a whole different thing. But I'm going to go back to these 3 points. Just like Jenni said, it's all going to be relational. I want you to know our doctor's amazing. You're going to love her. There are many cases, I know you have a lot of questions about dentistry, but the patients call me all the time. I work at the front desk. I get all these questions and they call thinking they're going to need a crown or an implant or an extraction or a root canal, and they actually don't. Well, our job is to figure out who you are. And the cool thing about our office, we are focused on helping you with what you want and that letting you make all the decisions. Even if you don't decide to stay in our office, it's totally cool. And you don't want to do the treatment here, you want to go elsewhere. We are okay with that. So let's do this. You're going to see I'm always going to transition to some type of an actionable statement towards the end. I'm going to get my three statements in, which are, our doctor's amazing. I want to honor the fact that, hey, listen, we might do the least amount of dentistry and you may not need a crown. And then we're focused on you. And let's do this. I'd love to have you come by our office and just check us out. We get to put a face behind that beautiful voice. And most importantly, you get to meet us as a team and you can decide you can see what we're all about. I know you're going to love it here because again, I hope if you're listening to this or you're watching this, I hope you believe one thing. I hope you believe for the most part, if we can get them here and they can walk through the door, they're going to see why we're different, why they might pay a little bit more, and mostly they're going to stay. I hope you believe that. If you don't believe that, we got a whole bunch of different webinars for you. And that's going to be the basic stuff because if you're listening this, I hope you're at that point. Now, you don't want to mislead patients. That's not at all what I'm saying. But the hardest challenge in any dental practice is just getting people to show up at your office and to be open to what you have to say. And Jenni, just like you said, do you do dental implants in your office? This is a big one. And again, I'm going to go back to the original thought process, which is number one, I'm going to ask a question. I'm not going to answer that question. Even if I don't place implants or I do place implants, I'm going to ask a question. And then here's another one. Is this going to be expensive? I love that one too. It's going to be crazy expensive. And I just need to know if you're sitting on a mountain of cash. No, you don't want to say that. That's not kind of fun. But people say that all the time. Like, is this going to be a lot of money? You get those questions, right?
Yeah. And it's a very difficult question to answer because that's relative.
Right.
Right. It's relative.
It's totally relative. And I like the word investment, say it could be a considerable investment. And John Cranham uses this one at a certain point. He doesn't use it right up front, but somewhere along the way, as you get to know patients and you're connecting with them and you can see they're stressed, he'll say to a patient, Sue, let me share a thought with you. If this dentistry is going to create more problems in your life than it is in your mouth, you have to let me know so we can make it better fit in your life. And this is where you can truly, phase treatment plans. The constant is the quality and the variable might be the time. You don't have to do the upper arch and the lower arch at the same time. Sometimes you're going to have patients that are in a holding pattern and you can be with them. Now, I'm not asking you to be super sympathetic to their financial conditions. That's not at all. But if you really love and care for these people, you can be honest with them and you can see if they're going to be stressed out with all of this dentistry, trying to fit in their lives. And this is probably the best place to start because, again, I keep adding slides. And so
The best place to stop, you mean?
Oh, best place to stop. Hey, and we're just getting started here. So this is webinar number 2. And in webinar 3, we're going to talk about cancellations from different levels of patients. And I don't know if I'm going to break this up into a 4th. I might, just because every time I always
feel like it's going to be an ongoing series.
Yeah. I honestly think we can make this like a 10-part webinar series. So Jenny's so sweet because I go, hey, just show up. I got all the slides ready. And she's like, oh God, what are we going to be talking about? And I'm like, no, there's like only 10 slides. And then I had 4 more because there's a lot I'm thinking about. And here's what I'm really trying to say to you guys. If you're listening to any of our webinars, if you're part of our coaching community, if you're part of Act Dental U, if you've become a part of Inner Circle, which I hope you have, you're going to see we're going to spend the rest of our lives just bringing tons and tons of value to you, because I want you to show up at this stuff and go, this is really good stuff. And so our goal is to create best practices for you in webinars, coaching classes, one-on-ones, whatever. So if you're a dentist and this is your first time at the Act Dental community, I'm going to encourage you, just show up. If you need more help, you can hit any of the buttons below and just reach out to us. We're happy to have a phone call. You can join Act Dental U, where we have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of this stuff. Your brain will hurt because you'll be listening to a lot of great stuff. Or you can show up in our mastermind group, which we have our Inner Circle, where we have some of the best dentists from all over the country working together. If you're not a part of that, you are just wasting your life, because I tell you, I get a lot from that. And Jenny, I know you do too. And we were just talking about your brother.
Magical.
Yeah.
It's like, it is the most amazing space to be in.
Yeah. Selfishly, I'll tell you why. For me, selfishly, I never wanted to be the smartest person in a room. And I can authentically say that. I mean, more than half of the room is done way beyond anything I do. And by osmosis, which is my word of the month, by osmosis, all that good stuff just comes back at you. And you're like, that makes so much sense. What you're going to see if you get in the Inner Circle room, we're going to tell you what to say. We're going to give you the tools. That stuff is awesome. But what's better is you can see how some of the best think. And that, my friends, is worth gold, is because when you get around people that think better, it changes your life. So we encourage you to show up. And then if you're a serious student, you really want to get this done, those are where our real students show up at Pro Coaching, where we send somebody like Jenny, one of our amazing expert coaches out there, and just make you do all this. Because it's one thing to say it, to learn it, to apply it, but there's another thing to do it. And that's where the magic happens. The other thing I want you to think about is, as coaches, we can say things to your team you could never say. And it comes across so nicely. Your team members will go, did you hear how Jenny said, like, we got to do this? And you're like, I've been saying that for 10 years. And somehow.
Got to get ready to move forward.
Yeah.
Right?
It's no different for me. I got to surround myself with great coaches and great people just because they say it differently. So thank you guys for listening to this webinar podcast. Make sure you check it out at www.actdental.com/verbal for the entire series. That's VERBAL. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.